Don't remember the item. But we are about to start here.
Alright, Glan starting at Link's house, checks at Sink. Nothing of importance on either one.
So Chex will do a sort of convoluted route. He'll go to the Lost Woods, and then he will water walk to the Waterfall Cave and up to Death Mountain for Paradox Cave. Glan was doing something I think is a little more popular. Just check the island and head to Sahasrahla first.
With the added side effect of these little rocks exploding from the Octoroks, they do count towards the kill count, which will give him the easy tree pull.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether he... Does he know the count? Does he know he gets 4? I guess not. Not sure whether he gets 4 from... I only counted 3 myself.
A little bit hard to tell on our screens. Okay, Aghanim is basically not required.
Yeah, and we got 3 crystals in the light world. I think Chex actually took a hit from a B. So he's going to get tier 2 rather than 3. First tier was, I believe, just hearts. So this seems strange to me that Glan doesn't check Lumberjack right away. It seems like in regular seeds, you wait for Boots to check it. Since they start with Boots, I would think it'd be a good idea to check it right away.
And then that's... I can also make the case of never checking it unless you absolutely have to, since that's just 2 extra screens to transition into without being able to pick up any items.
Yeah, I wonder under what conditions he would go back and check that. Because he just passed his best time to check it.
I mean, he might also save that for when he does DMAs, and just do that right up by the tower.
Okay, that's a higher DMA than I know exists, but okay.
Yeah, there's a little double hop, same screen as the tree, and you end up on the island right on top of the mountain, between Ether Tablet and the other part of the mountain.
Oh, that's right. I've seen that at least once. So we got Ice Rod out of Sahasrahla. That's not going to be competitively relevant because Chex will get that if he needs to in due course, and so far nothing else of interest.
Almost have our money for Zora already. We can at least do the desert area all in one pass this time around, other than land.
So Chex did not do what I said he'd do. I wonder what items changed his mind about that. Perhaps the money for the bottle vendor, but I don't know.
It's like the great thing with Chex is knowledge base and application knowledge base in general is he can basically just say, yeah, I feel like doing this whenever, and it'd still be within seconds as far as overall routing efficiency.
So it looks like we got a glove out of the well, silvers somewhere. I think that was the bottle merchant. And now we've got a bow to go with them out of the chicken hut.
Cac is definitely loaded this seed.
So that burner leads me to ask, I guess it doesn't matter since they're all underworld glitches, but there's been a new discovery, more or less, with glitches in this game having to do with Ancilla, various projectiles and things that are not quite sprites. I don't think we have found any overworld applications for them, is that right?
Not that I know of. But that's the interesting thing. What is particularly in GT, and perhaps we can at least do some showcase of some major glitches sometime in the future, and I'm sure we'll definitely see that happen. But the big application is you get to see this useless room that you normally only see when somebody wants to set up right side GT with lantern. It does some weird things, so your hookshot more or less takes the collision properties of boomerang and you skip straight to the end of or the end of the bottom section.
Yeah, actually, in another major glitch category, I think Todd found just today a way to get to the hammer pegs from Checkerboard Cave, and that skips the last possible hammer requirement in major glitches.
Oh man, I'm always too afraid to mess around on map 2.
Yeah. Anyway, meanwhile, in this match, we have nothing of interest in desert yet. I think it was a useless hint rather than... I think it was a joke hint rather than a useless hint, that is.
Yeah. Not sure why Chex has opted to pick up that small magic right now, rather than stock up on his arrows.
Oh, he's just doing one of each in 2 passes. So, I'm not sure where Glan got all his arrows that Chex doesn't have.
There was 10 arrows in the big chest.
Ah. Okay, so Chex just routed back, okay. So...
Yeah, I like the way that Chex did this. He wants to be on the left-hand side so he can teleport up and just go straight to Checkerboard Cave from this exit right here. And Glen's gonna have to come back around to this after K45.
Chex double checking that he got both dungeon items, which he did. I think we saw 10 arrows and a rupee.
Actually, I think in this particular situation, I think I agree with the way Glan did this. I think it's a little bit faster to do the little boots buffering 245 and then back over to Checkerboard. Minor difference.
So Chex going for a boomerang. I suppose that's fine, although Berna and Bow is a pretty comfortable pair of weapons early. And Glan agrees. I didn't know you could do a down teleport there. So Chex will put off K45 for some other time. Opts for Agana from his position. So I think somehow Glan has made up a bunch of time where he has a pure advantage here. I can't think of anything that Chex has done that he hasn't.
Yeah, but then Glan is heading straight to Eastern with that bow, and Chex, he is going to K45 now. Maybe come back and swing around and hit South Shore from here.
Seems like a long way to go for one check. Glan, meanwhile, does a sort of screen wrap from the bottom of the screen straight into Eastern.
Yeah, so how Link to the Past works with positions in general, it keeps track of both what your position is in the whole Overworld map in general, as well as your position within a screen. If you manage to hop past the boundaries of a screen, the global position is still set to be below that, but you do wrap around to the top. Cave entrances or door entrances, they stay relative to the local map. So particularly with this one, and we'll see this a lot on Hero, is we'll hop off the bottom and enter Hero on the top.
Check's now doing this South Shore route you suggested. I think we've seen nothing out of Eastern yet. Alright, powder. They can check that right away without the hammer. There's a bootless version, but it's quicker with boots. We also see a bottle out of Mini Moldorm Cave and nothing else.
Okay, we've got a pretty early Ganon Samaria as well.
That would be more exciting in a mode that allowed underworld glitches, but that suggests that Turtle Rock may have some early progression. You can get there right away in overworld glitches. But I'll probably want a Pearl first, though.
Or a mirror. We don't have access to it quite yet by logic.
Is Dungeon Bunny Revival in logic in this mode?
Yes.
Even though it's an underworld glitch. Okay.
It's a minor.
Oh, fair enough. So all minor glitches are in logic in this mode.
For the most part, yeah. I don't think the water walk is yet.
Seems like a mixed sort of set of what's in logic and what's not. Meanwhile, Chex does a bit of a world wrap from Ice Rod Cave. He goes over to the desert area to get the collision from that screen to go around and up to the Flute 5 screen. Now he's going to do the same screen wrap, the broken camera, to get into Eastern. Yeah. I think we haven't seen the map, so I think Armos is going to have an item.
Yep, and unfortunately for Check, his little trip around South Shore didn't really lead to much. It does give him a little bit of a guarantee that in case the game tries to force Aghanim, he can still skip it now.
Well, that's going to skip it one way or another. We got mitts on Armos there.
I forget if damage boosting to get Super Bunny is in logic or not right now.
Well, they could always get a... Well, they're going to skip Aghanim. Nobody's doing Aghanim in this seed.
Yeah. They've got the easy means to do so.
So Glan now doing the checks. They will both end up with powder and a bottle, so they may head back to Kakariko to check those. See, there is and that bottle has a fairy. We'll see if we do anything with that. There is a glitch with the mirror to get past the... Oh, we're not going to do that, though. This is not Key Sanity. Never mind. Can get into Aghanim's tower with the mirror and a fairy in a bottle. Even if you don't have the swords or cape to get through that barrier. I didn't know you could talk to that NPC from so far away. Okay. And I didn't see that hint the first time, but we've got the flippers in Ganon's tower.
I'm not quite sure if we actually need them yet. The only dungeon that actually needs the flippers is going to be Swamp Palace.
Yeah, that is the only thing that we could possibly need the flippers for at all in the game. They are required by logic. Well, are they required by logic for anything else? Possibly the Zorledge item?
No.
No. Okay.
I think it could be a logical requirement for Waterfall, and that's about it if you don't have the Moon Pearl yet.
Okay. So Water Walk, the Water Walk setup out of Mini Moldorm is not in logic.
Last I checked. I think the last major revision on the logic happened like right before the Boots Water Walk was.
So what Glan is doing is not in logic. He set up the Boots Water Walk out of the Ice Rod Cave. We think. Yeah. He lost it. He lost it there because he got a health refill out of that left side chest. That cancels your water walk. So that was an unfortunate item, unfortunate sequence of opening chests.
Just 50 rupees on the left. And Glan's not realizing he does not have the 500 rupees for Zora.
Yep. So this will be a big waste of time. I think I guessed that. What happens? Does he give you? What does he say?
I don't think I've actually seen the randomized version of that version of that text before.
Yep, I had no idea what that would be. All right, so Chex is not doing the bottom. Okay, he's going to do King's Tomb first.
I wonder, has there been a bombs clip method to get up to Graveyard Shelf Disco?
I mean, the way I know is a spin speed through the rail. You could, of course, one frame that. I don't know a bomb way. One would think it exists, given that it's a diagonal like that. But I've never seen it, and it would be annoying to set up, of course, with the boulders in your way.
I mean, like from the bottom up, like you would see for a desert.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I don't know. The collision on these diagonal walls is what enables so many of these glitches, and I believe it can vary from place to place, even when the wall sort of looks the same. So glitches like that need to be sort of found independently. There are general principles, but the sort of mixed results out of applying those general principles.
Yeah, I think Logic definitely does need some updates. I don't know all the major changes, if there's major changes in Logic since last version.
Yeah. So Chex did a Death Mountain ascent there. He did an up teleport past the screen transition. That allowed him to sort of walk through the wall and get onto Death Mountain. He had to correct his camera before going in this old man rescue cave, or else he would have had to wait 2 minutes for the transition to finish going in.
Yeah, then not terribly surprised with Glan's play into Hyrule Castle. There's a ton of locations and only 2 of those chests. Then there's only 2 wasted chests in Hyrule Castle.
Yeah, so Chex gets the hook shot from the old man and immediately puts it to use by getting a super speed set up to clip quickly to Hera. He's in here without a sword or hammer, so he cannot beat this dungeon right now. Interesting to see whether he decides to go upstairs or not.
Doesn't matter.
Gonna need a fire source to get upstairs, as the big key is locked in the basement. So
And
that's in logic without the mirror.
We have a sphere 0 moon pearl.
So Glan, I got nothing, I believe, out of the front of escape. Check's gonna show us the spectacle rock bomb jump and probably head over to East Death Mountain with that hook shot to clear out Paradox Cave. Glan showing us the okay, yeah. Glan's gonna do it looks like what you said he'd do. Might do. Check the lumberjack and do this higher up DMA.
Definitely looks that way.
And Chex does the light world version of what is called the Turtle Rock climb to wiggle his way up that slope and get to East Death Mountain a bit faster.
Nothing on that floating island up there. Glen's gonna hop twice and it's gonna auto transition to him. It's gonna put him right above in the same platform as Hera when he hops out right here.
So he'll do a down teleport here.
Decent timing on that flute. Not sure how soon we'll see a trip to cash out in. Probably shortly after, actually probably shortly after these East Death Mountain checks along this way back to Village of Outcast Dark World.
Yeah, we have 3 reasons now to go back to Kakariko. We can check Sick Kid, we can check the powder, and we can activate the flute. In Overworld glitches, you might often see the flute discovered and never activated. However, this early in the game, I would think they will, because it'll give them a bit of a mobility advantage.
Less useful, depends on how soon you get it. Required, never. And Glan started to hover, got a few frames up, and unfortunately took a fall.
It'll be interesting to see whether he skips that hint. That hint was cache and hookshot cave, so it's not useful. Glan does not have the hookshot yet.
Chex does the originally intended method for this clip down the graveyard ledge. That is the specific application on which that logic was based.
So now Chex will finally check the bottom of escape. Or he did already, I believe.
Yeah, he already did that one. And then he would have hula hand anyways if he would have hopped in there.
Oh, he would have, because he came down from Death Mountain and broke his camera to do that. So Glan never got the Spectacle Rock item. Looks like he's probably going to skip it. And he's going to get his hook shot here. See which way he goes with this.
Yep, not quite sure why we didn't get the Dark Death Mountain check out of Shax, but he might save that for when he has mirrored this dude Zora with Catfish at that point, combine Catfish with it.
Alright, so that trip back to Kakariko paying off. We got a sword from the Sick Kid. Chex will show us the clip to Magic Bat. Tap up, swim right, go up, and jump down, and you're in it.
Alright, Magic Bat has for us just 10 arrows, no big deal.
Yeah, so with overworld glitches, so much of the world is open right away. It's a little harder to get reads on the logic, where the logic may want you to go, or where you may be being forced to go. So Chex is... there we go. Okay, so Glan now doing his first trip to East Death Mountain.
And we've got a second sword at the hobo.
Okay, so Chex is now going to do the front of escape that Glan did earlier. We'll see if we get the Dark Death Mountain check from Glan here. So we're looking for... what are we looking for? Fire source to beat Herring Desert would be nice.
And we still don't know what our Dark Worlds things. Very strong likelihood that we'll need hammer.
Yep, in this mode, hammer could technically be not required, right? Because the 4 dungeons that normally require it include Turtle Rock, but there are clips to get into the back of Turtle Rock that aren't logic. So technically, you could have the 3 hammer requiring dungeons be pendants.
Yeah, so we got Pod, Ice Palace, and Swamp that require hammer.
On top of that, you would need the Ganon's Tower Big Key not to be behind all those chests that are behind the hammer on the left side. But we are going to need the hammer today for Ice Palace.
And we don't necessarily need those flippers we saw the hint for.
So that was...
let's see. Mire was a pendant.
Mire, Thieves, and Swamp are pendants.
So the items that we need cannot be on pedestal.
Why couldn't the fire rod be on the pedestal?
Wait, hold on.
Fire rod could be on. Yeah, we could have the fire rod on the pedestal.
Thought about that. A little bit wrong. Oh well, it happened.
So chat still has hope. Checks, I think that was a water walk that he set up there. Maybe not. I'm not sure where he's going now. No, he did set up a water walk. A little surprised he didn't set up the double water walk. But I guess he can clip to the ledge if he wants.
Actually, I'm not even sure if he actually needed to set that particular water walk up with that moon pearl.
Yeah, but it is going to allow him to get this second chest, I think.
And he can still get that.
Yeah, because he has the pearl. Meanwhile, on Glan's side, we saw him do a Death Mountain descent from the Turtle Rock screen. He did a clip that got him down straight to Catfish. Now he's going to do another clip from this screen down to Pod. So the item Glan missed in Waterfall Cave was just another piece of heart, and the item he missed on Zor was also nothing. Interesting to see whether he goes back to that. Because at this point, he would just save time. So, Check's gonna correct his camera and hair. Probably could do the Turtle Rock climb. Do Dark East Death Mountain.
And we do have Glan in pod. Has access to everything in pod except Helm of Swords itself.
Yep. In regular modes, this would be a larger gamble, given where pod is and how difficult it is to get to. But in Overworld glitches, it's a bit faster, sort of more on the way with various things. So this early, well, and it's gonna work out.
Nice.
So the hammer is gonna be in here, according to that hint. So Chex could be right behind him. He may want to do that descent to check catfish, then go to pod. He may instead decide that Kane puts enough of Turtle Rock and logic that he wants to mess around in there.
Fortunately, Hammer wasn't on this side, so we have to do a little bit of a death warp. And with getting, oh man,
I actually think he doesn't just have one fairy. He's got a second one, I think.
he's got 2 fairies. But at least he remembers just to get rid of it first.
Yeah, so Chex is indeed gonna be right behind him, not gonna mess around in Turtle Rock. He gets the bonk set up for the quick warp for the mirror he does not have. Does not head to pod. That seems a little odd to me, I guess, given his position on the overworld. It would have been quick. And it is going to cost him. He does have to get to pod without the hammer, one way or another.
And he's got nothing that's going to lead him to the area anytime soon right now. It's like, unless he gets a prettier mirror pretty soon and he opts to go for a pyramid check, he doesn't have quite as easy of an access to get to pod.
Looks like he's going to do a Death Mountain descent, and he will get to the West Dark World here. And it is trivial now in various ways to get to the West Dark World from here. Bumper ledge we can get right away without a cape.
Alright, there's that hammer.
So we'll get the front of Skullwoods cleared by Chex. Yeah, so Glan is probably going to build a pretty big advantage. Chex is going to be skipping things where he'd like to have the hammer.
Definitely. And then the 2 places that we saw swords, we'll probably see Glan definitely clash in the bottle in his next time he makes his way over to that area. We might not see him make that hobo play for a while.
Yeah, Chex does not find a small key on the left side here in Skull, so he has to do the pinball room.
And then meanwhile, you notice that we don't have these little skull pots in pod anymore on Glan's side. So that death warp, with Aghanim still alive, as well as not having the mirror, whenever you die inside of a dungeon, the game kind of decides which world you should be in when you leave. So without those conditions met, the game thinks we should be in Lightworld, so we get Lightworld pots inside the dungeon. When you leave a dungeon, the screen will look like it's Dark World, but if you transition, it'll just teleport you over to Lightworld equivalent of the same transition.
So that fake worlds happens only if you take a death. And the reason you don't see this issue in other randomizers is that is patched out for every other mode of randomizer. Every other non-major glitch mode, that is.
Yep, and then the other big reason that is also patched out is in the vanilla game, well, in the game in general, it's like dungeons are actually paired together in some way. And as such, there's 3 dungeons in the Dark World that's paired with 3 pendant dungeons. If you have those that corresponding pendant and you're in fake Dark World in a dungeon, then you can't get that crystal.
I don't know about that particular issue. So, let's see. Does that affect this mode at all?
No, that doesn't affect this at all. They completely patched that out for randomizer in general. That way it always drops.
So, Glan taking another death warp out of the dark maze. Probably go to kill Helmasaur now. I believe that was a death warp. I didn't quite see whether that was intentional or not, but I am assuming.
Yeah, he would have been in the maze when that happened. Or by the big chest.
So Chex opts to skip any checks in Pendant Thieves. I'm not going to open a single chest for now. Bombos is mildly interesting. It can be our way into Ice Palace for now. And could be the medallion for Mire. We may or may not want to go into. Looks like Chex is at least going to check the shed. He's going to clip down here. So this graphical glitch is due to the rain. For most normal ways that you get to Mire, the game has a little bit of time to load things, and it sort of runs a race between loading the screen and the rain effect. And it cannot load the rain effect fast enough if you do a straight overworld transition there. But it can if you exit the cave. That's why the rain comes back when you exit the shed. So Mire's Ether, that Bombos will not be the answer there.
I think we're at 4 turtles down on Glan's side in the dark.
This is a difficult room. He has a couple options. I think he got it though.
And then it's even harder with the sword, because one other way that you have to find some of these turtles in the dark is the sword tinks off them.
Yeah, but he got it. He pushed the block, so now he's in the hallway to Helmasaur.
And he can only take 1 hit to Helmasaur before dying on this when he does not have that blue mail.
He also has no sword, so he cannot have the safety of that.
And he had to get rid of his fairies for some death warps earlier.
But he can make this second phase real quick with 1 silver arrow. We got a medallion out of Hype Cave from Chex. I didn't see which one. Looks like Ether. And that is also the Mire medallion. And Helmasaur has a sword. So Chex going on a bit of a journey here. I'm not sure what is he's at least going to check the pyramid, I would think.
Yep, and then our frog is going to prevent him from being able to enter a pod for that hammer. So this will probably be where that trip ends.
Technically, it won't actually prevent him, but he would have to lose the frog. And I hope Chex landed there before he saved and quit. He could have set up EG there.
Completely forgot about the Kiki thing. So it would have been fine either way.
Yeah, he could have gotten there, but the Kiki would have overwritten the Smith, and I doubt he would have made the investment in the Smith. Chex, I think, has the shovel. That's why he's going this way rather than just fluting. Yeah. I forget where that shovel was.
Oh, I didn't see where Glan got his sword. Did he already cash in that model?
That was Helmasaur. Helmasaur had a sword.
Nice.
Oh, Glan now doing the route Chex took, but in reverse. Yeah, that's right. Shovel was in the left side of Skullwoods. Chex has a couple medallions now that he didn't. He knows flippers are in GT.
I think he is going there. No, well,
the way he's moving now, he almost has to be going to GT, I think.
Yeah, he only has a few locations he can check without that hammer and without a fire.
Yeah, so he cannot do full right side. He cannot do full left side. No hammer to do left, no fire to do right. He can't go upstairs all the way either, for that matter. You need a fire source for the torch puzzle.
Thought he was actually going to head to Terror Rock really fast. Well, there's our fire source, but it's a not in logic fire for purposes of this puzzle. But I think he'll continue anyway.
How is that not in logic?
To get to the bomb jump to the torch puzzle in the next room?
Oh, right. Okay, so it doesn't put the right side in logic, but it is itself in logic. Yeah, so Chex I have seen do the right side with the lamp, so I expect him to do that. He could also beat Hera now, beat Hera and Desert for that matter. The Hera Big Key is in the basement. And that is our final medallion out of the tile room. Yep, so Bombos makes this room quick to clear. You must exit this north door to be able to pull off this right side torch puzzle with the lamp. You don't have enough time to walk around unless you spawn from this door after falling after the bomb jump. You also must push that block, and always a good idea to kill everything before you try this. So Glan, with his hammer, is going to do thieves, which Chex did none of.
Chex got that set up. Just a few short seconds in order to make it to this door before it. And not a problem for him at all.
Yeah, with boots, it's pretty easy. You can do it without the boots or hook shot, but getting hit by the spike will ruin it for you.
Alright, so hopefully that big key in the lantern is going to lead him to finish off GT while he's here, and then use that opportunity to swing on over to Pod.
So, the lamp allows him to go up. Lamp and big key allow him to go upstairs now.
Haven't seen anything of importance yet in these first few chests in Thieves' Town. And given that he's going straight to Armos rather than checking out this big chest first, I think that's what his plan is going. Rather than saving quite after these chests after Armos.
So, Overworld glitches, you don't need nearly as many items, and I believe at this point the only thing we need now for Go mode is the Fire Rod. Could we need anything else? We don't need the mirror to get into Swamp. I'm not sure what else we could need it for.
It's like, unless Fire Rod ends up in Swamp, we don't need that mirror, yeah.
See, and now they both.
And we've got all the medallions.
One of them is there in the tile room. The one that Glan does not have, Quake, is in the tile room in Ganon's tower. Could need the book to get an item. Could need Flipper see it into Swamp and Mirror to get into Swamp. That's sort of the characteristic of Overworld glitches, where you get so close to Go mode so fast, and then you spend 30 minutes looking for Go mode. If you're lucky, only 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So, cape out of blind cell. And nothing in the big chest. And I think at this point blind has to have a dungeon item. Ooh, Glan is deliberately dying. I mean, that had to be deliberate, right? I don't know why he would do that.
At that point, I don't know. That is going to put him into fake Dark World, though.
Yeah,
But he's got mid, so he'll just transition and go back the portal this way.
Yeah, so he knew blind had a dungeon item. I guess he's not going to invest in that just for the pedestal check. Yeah, the hammer is in pod. Chex missed his sort of best opportunity to go into hammerless pod. He did not take the teleport down from the catfish, where that's how Glan got there early. So upstairs GT, Chex is at least making progress here. Sort of difficult to say. I mean, there could be just so much variation in what they choose to do. It's really hard to say who's in the lead. If of course Glan finds the fire rod, he's going to be almost unbeatable. He'll be just too far ahead in Go mode.
We just need to see where that that final sword is. But I'd be surprised if we don't. Well, we didn't see that bottle check when he was in Kakariko.
Yeah, he could have checked. He could have, after dying in Thieves' Town, he could have gone to Kakariko to clean up some things, activate his flute, check Sick Kid, but he chose not to. Bombos, getting Bombos and seeing that it is otherwise not required always makes me suspicious that Fire Rod is in Ice Palace.
Definitely.
problem is in overworld glitches, so much is in logic. Now, Chex down to heart and a half, has powder, chose not to grab.
He has both fairies still as well.
Ah, yeah. Glan had to use his to death warp in pod.
Actually, I think even this is a little bit risky, because Moldorm can still hit. If Moldorm was to knock him off the, I think he can still get some weird effect by gaining that fairy dying on the same frame as that transition here.
Yep. Yeah, you can hard lock if Moldorm hits you on the, I believe it's a hard lock, same frame as you, the last frame of visibility for Link as he's falling. But with red mail, I don't think that would have happened. I don't know how much damage Moldorm does with red mail.
Ingles didn't work out on that one at all, did it?
Oh, Moldorm can hit you after you fall. That is one of the wonders of the Japanese 1.0 version. You can get hit while you are in your falling animation, and it's bad.
Yep, and Moldorm's hitbox is wide enough that it actually goes past that edge. I've been hit by that Moldorm a few times while falling.
Yes, I have seen somebody hard lock on Moldorm 1 that way. So Chex now.
He's going to pod.
This is pod. Yeah, this is pod. This has to. Yeah. So this is really good for Chex. He's going to get tempered out of this. Helmasaur has a sword. Glan now going to get his second sword here from Sick Kid. The third is going to be on the Hobo. So this will even things up a bit. At this point, really, Chex has done upper GT where Glan hasn't, and Glan has done pod where Chex hasn't.
Yep, and the thing that'll hurt Chex the most is if Fire ends up being on left side G.
Yep. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, because Glan will probably do left side. He'll probably full clear Ganon's tower. I don't know his comfort level with that, with the bomb jump for right side GT with the lamp. One would think high-level overworld glitches players would know how to do that. It's really important in entrance, and looks like it's about as important in overworld glitches.
That thing, I'm pretty sure I've seen Glan do that bomb jump before anyways, and otherwise he knows how to hover.
Alright, so Chex showed us there an obscure little bit of this game where if you're actually right next to the wall when you try to dash her and bonk it, it won't open. You must be at least 1 pixel away from the wall. That'll happen in Sahasrara's closet. That'll happen in the wall in Turtle Rock if you're going backwards. So it looks like Chex with red mail and 2 fairies is going to walk it back out of pod. So I don't quite approve of what Glan is doing here. What I prefer to do is sit in the doorway till that bunny beam comes in there and destroys itself on the wall. This way he's going to have to dodge the bunny beam once all the tiles are done.
But it does let him keep his controller down the other way and not worry about dodging the wall mat or the floor master.
Yeah, but I mean, you just wait till the bunny beam destroys itself.
I mean, it also has that. It has that effect where his magic actually doesn't get drained at all in that little deal.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is you can do the same thing after the bunny beam destroys itself on the wall. So, Glan not using Bombos, I disapprove. Bombos is the best way to deal with this room, if you have it. So Check's probably going to be a little faster in here through pod having the lamp. Glan handled the Dark Turtle Room very well. That's okay. So Glan is a little less comfortable dodging this fire shooter. You want to... It's very forgiving on your position. You can just sit way down and then dodge that... dodge the fireball. I would have liked to have seen a hammer jump from Chex here. Because that would have... Okay, so he's just going to ditch his fairies and Death Warp. Hopefully one doesn't fly up to him while he's waiting for this bomb. I actually don't know if those fairs are going to despawn. It is a super tile transition here, so I think they will. I think they might have stayed if that was only a subtile transition.
Yep, that one was a super tile. The turtle chest on the other side of the hammer jump is the end of the super tile.
So Glan took a little longer doing the right side. He's... Okay, so Chex is not done. Oh, he knows this is a key, but he has to get it to get to Helmosaur. So Glan he handled the turtles in the dark pretty well for my money, but it did take him a while. Chex will not take any time at all in the dark with the lamp and Master Sword. You can actually do that firebar room on the right side of Ganon's tower, taking no damage without the boots. You just sort of have to move up, wait, then move down, then wait, then go up. And then use the pot to kill the beetle. So that was interesting. I think we saw Glan do full right side before doing the left side. I wonder if he will try to skip the left side. I wonder if he'll just go upstairs right now.
I hope not.
Nope. So he will... What will he have to do? Where would his best place to take a Death Warp after that? Maybe even just save and quit would be faster.
Yeah, just leave the top for later.
Well, I mean, he's got to do it, and the fire rod could be... No, it can't be up there because the big... Yeah, so he knows the fire rod's not up there because the big key was on the right side. Yeah, so no reason not to just leave that for later.
Meanwhile, Chex is doing his Helmosaur fight, almost done with that already. There is our fourth sword.
Chex will not have a sword advantage.
Yep, and then the missing sword on both runs we probably won't see by the other run.
Really? You think Glan won't do Hobo? Needing what item for go mode before pendant dungeons?
Not yet. Unless he feels like he's way behind and he wants to show off some other extra random glitches. Alright, there's our hints for the flippers finally.
Yeah, so Chex is doing something that is not Ice Palace, and I disagree. Okay, fair enough. You do have to beat Hera. This is better than Ice. I take it back. But that
Yeah.
Bombos makes me extremely suspicious of Ice.
Well, there's that mirror, so I guess he'll go ahead and do the top.
Yep.
And it's gonna save Glan a bit of time for Turtle Rock as well. Even if they have that, even if they're already in Goma, it's like you still have to search for that big key first.
We'll see how Chex manages it. I don't think it would be actually worth. I mean, you're gonna lose time doing the left side if you do it.
Yeah.
So Glan has spent that time. I'm not sure the mirror's gonna save that same amount of time. So I would think we'll see Glan skip chests here. I don't think there's any reason for him to check chests.
Yeah, there's nothing that's going to help him other than that fire rod that he knows can't be up here.
It would be interesting if he was actually missing. Actually, I could see him checking some chests. If he found the book, he would know for a fact that the fire rod was not on a tablet. Anything he finds up here, but really it's only fetch quests, only the mushroom and book. I guess it's not even worth checking chests for that, because if you get those fetch quests, you just turn them in elsewhere. So, probably not going to open chests. Or at least, in my opinion, not a good idea to open chests. Yeah, tiles, always... There are a lot of things in this game that always do a flat heart of damage no matter what armor you have. So Glan elected to powder that bunny beam there before Land Mode 2. That causes them to all spawn at the same time, which makes a quick kill a little harder.
So, and then you'll see this a lot in Turtle Rock as well, like particularly with the roller cycle. Anything that's timing based is based on time within the super tile. So more important during like vanilla speed runs where timing is important for a lot of the strats. If you spend too much time like trying to farm a Poke or something in a different room, you'll mess up your roller cycle as well.
Yeah, one room that is obnoxious all the time is, for whatever reason, the vanilla big key room in Skull Woods runs while you're in the room below it. So that mummy in the Gibdo in the second room can be in different places depending on how you move.
Oh, and Chex ends up started to go with the Ice Palace play, then decided against.
Yeah, I guess he's gonna do what could he be doing without correcting camera? Oh, fair enough. Couple one-off checks before he commits to a dungeon that he either wants to try to go mode, namely Ice, or one that he can't full clear, namely Turtle Rock. I think Turtle Rock would be a bit of a... I wouldn't agree with Turtle Rock at this point, not having Fire Rod. You don't even know whether you can get the big key. But it looks like if he's getting hearts, he's probably going to Turtle Rock. His camera will still be broken after this, so I actually don't know where he's going. Maybe left side GT.
That's where he's going.
Yeah, so he's gonna give back all this time that Glan that he might have had over Glan by not checking this stuff. Although, if the fire rod's in swamp, it's not a waste.
He might also be eyeballing that pendant swamp that burnt him last race. And
If he goes to Pendant Swamp over Crystal Ice with Bombos, I will have words for him. Nobody likes an ice palisader. Alright, so butter sword for him here in the map chest. And he will get flippers and mirror shortly after. See, so we'll have near parity on checks here. I think Chexhuman is actually maybe a bit ahead with the Heraclear that Glan does not have.
Yep, and then as soon as he finishes off this couple of warps and a bomb room, he'll have the same items Glan has otherwise already checked before.
Yeah, and there's nothing Glan has done that Chex hasn't at this point. In fact, there are a couple things Glan could go back for, like that second chest in the waterfall and Zora.
And I think Glan is going to Turtle Rock now.
Yeah, so he's also going to beat Hera. This is sensible.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You want your flute, you want to go to ice checks. There you go.
Alright, he's going to commit to it this time.
So, assuming Glan, I mean, the natural thing to do here, it seems like ice has got to be the play for Glan after this. Always do a crystal dungeon you can complete. I'm not sure he would feel behind. Alright, so we get information that left side of swamp is useless there. Yet another reason coming to ice is good before other areas. It could give you hints to long checks in other dungeons like Mire and Swamp.
Yes, like the hints definitely give us a lot more value than it has in previous versions.
Chex is not doing the bomb strats in Pingators 1. Todso is disappointed.
He's trying to keep his cool factor a little bit down, so he wants to save it for the glitchy stuff rather than the small little strat stuff.
So you're saying we're going to see a super drop to Swamp, is what you're saying?
More than likely.
Super jump. I don't know if it's a super jump or drop.
One of those. Oh, I didn't miss where that hint was.
That hint was for the Ice Rod in Sahasrara. A unique item, but that was the only unique item, I think. So I think we were discussing it in the pregame off-stream that Glan has actually only lost one game throughout this entire tournament to Zero Rush. If Fire Rod is in here, as would be sort of sensible, it looks like he's headed for it. I've never seen that strat in that second Pingators room.
Had a certain old strat Scratch wanted people to do on the major glitches category.
Yeah, so if there is a game 3, which we're hoping for, and seems likely if Fire Rod is here in ice, then game 3 is scheduled for... Chat is saying 9 p.m. tomorrow. That sounds right. I will verify that. Yep, 9 p.m. tomorrow. So same time tomorrow.
Haven't seen anything yet in Ice Palace. We've seen basically all the dungeon items already.
We got at least 2 keys, it looks like, and then the map, I think, there. And so Glan is now also going to get his 4th sword. Checks his routing in this hint.
Shadow still is not dead yet.
Yeah,
Fire Rod is not needed for those pendants.
So Check's routed in that hint. There are a couple things that could be hinted that are valuable, like left side mire, but late game, needing only 1 item, it would be tempting to skip hints. We'll see what Glan does here. So, in terms of... So, there we go. He gets the same hint for Swamp. Competitively, Chex has a lead, and it is the lead that it looks like he has. They have done basically everything the same, but Chex is further ahead in ice here.
One other thing that Glan has done that Chex hasn't is every location in Thieves Town except for and opting to Death Warp rather than go ahead and complete blind just 2 screens away. So if it ends up being a pedestal C, Glan will still have to completely dip all the way through Thieves Town in order to actually get that pendant stuff.
Yep, Chex has also done some things that Glan has not. Glan went to Zora without the money, so he doesn't know what Zora is. He also had his water walk in the waterfall cave ruined by getting a heart piece for a full heal, so he could go back to those. So the answer is not in ice. I would guess we'll get a Pyramid Fairy check next. With that mirror, we can do some shenanigans to set our mirror portal in the right place, sort of inside the pyramid crack.
I think Chex would enjoy Pyramid Fairy Fire Rod. And then we'll get to see a fancy jump all the way to Skull Wars from that little area, if that's the case. But I think he's going to Swamp.
He got the items he needs that were not behind the fire rod, so this is... Logic is suggesting Swamp a little bit. So maybe now, at a sensible time at least, he's going against what he did last game, where he avoided Swamp in every way he could, which had his go mode. It was something like... It was on Argus, I think, and it was something like Ice Rod or Cane. What was the item? Anyone in chat remember game 1?
Yeah, Fire Rod can basically be anywhere except Trinex and Mothula and the 2 Fire Rod locked locations chest in Turtle Rock.
So we get an interesting hint, maybe. Book is on Sahasrara. So, That adds 2 items plus the pedestal check to a Vitreous kill. Never mind, not gonna matter. There's go mode. First chest in swamp. See, should have gone to swamp, like I said, Chex.
And Glan is likely to head over to Swamp right afterwards as well. There's still a lot of locations that can be accessed, depending on where that Turtle Rock Big Key is.
Yeah. I mean, Chex basically went straight to Fire Rod after all his sensible checks, so Glan has the opportunity to waste some time.
Definitely.
And he's already behind.
Yep, and then we are going to see that mirror wrap all the way to the back of Turtle.
Ooh, that was... okay. It's a little different than the setup I know for Chex's mirror wrap there.
Yeah, it's really nice setup. So like in the normal way that you would see most runners do that, your Y pixel is absolutely critical, or else you won't be able to be pushed back into the transition. On the way that Chex does it, and I used to do it that way for a while. You basically use the top of that slope or that hill.
I'm sorry, am I crazy, or did Chex just skip the top chest in Turtle Rock for no reason on the laser bridge?
He's got his one key, and Big Key can't be there.
Ah, okay, got it. Yeah, that mirror wrap is not in logic.
So this particular entrance isn't in logic because of the mirror wrap. So in order to be back here in logic, you need to have the big key.
Alright, so meanwhile, we've got some tension here on Glan. He is, well, he's just now past it. Finished Cold Stare with half a heart and no fairies. I'm sorry, did we finish our explanation of the logic for the big key in Turtle Rock?
Not completely, but as far as Chex's method, so you line up on the top hill that you do like the climb itself from, and then when you transition from that in that mirror wrap state, it lets you be on that little ledge ready to hop off down by Mimic Cave. So it's a lot easier setup than trying to find the right pixel on the normal method. Alright, there's our big key in Chain Chomp Room.
And Glan is taking that opportunity to waste some time, these 2 checks that he wasn't able to get in the Zora area, so he falls further behind now.
Yep, at least he gets more bombs out of this. But I do imagine Swamp... What all has he not checked still?
What happened to Glan? So the main reasons for the difference here is that Glan did almost all of Thieves Town except kill Blind. He also did the Zora area. He just now double dipped. He forgot he didn't have money, and he got a full here out of a heart in Waterfall Caves. Went back for those. Otherwise, I think Chex was maybe slightly more efficient, despite getting the hammer a little later.
Yeah, he just had that lantern kind of lead him along GT to put him right back in the area after he dipped out earlier with the after Catfish.
Yeah, Chex having the lamp out of Ganon's tower before he went to Pod made it a little faster for him.
Yep, and then what we'll see Chex do now is first he'll mirror, then he'll hop back into that portal. Then we'll see him go straight to Skullwoods from here. Oh yeah, that's right. Glan still has to finish up Desert as well.
Yeah, Chex also needs to finish Desert. They haven't done it because I think they both know that Glan knows a dungeon item. So this is a world wrap from Chex, I think, to go to Skullwoods, right?
Yeah. And he has to enter this entrance really fast. Make sure he doesn't hit right, get nudged right, so he doesn't scroll a lot.
So Glan coming in here with his, by way of the flute to mire, probably going to do mire next, where he will not find his fire rod.
Fire Rod was the first item location of Swamp.
Yeah, early game Glan sort of had the potential to be ahead. He was ahead by a little bit very early on. I didn't quite see how that happened, but coming out of Kakariko, Glan was ahead slightly. And he got that hammer earlier, which had he been able to leverage it, he could have been ahead, but that wasn't the way it turned out. Unfortunately, the hammer ended up just being the bait to go into Thieves early, which Chex did not get any chests out of.
Was that a one cycle with the bow? On Mire 2?
I believe it was.
I did not know that bow was fast enough to do that.
Well, you always use beams, but you usually do the fire rod to get the...
to get that right Rose Road, because the beams won't hit that one.
Yeah. The Popo often blocks that sword beam, so you usually use the fire rod, and it's a fast projectile, so interesting that the bow, a much slower projectile, gets there in time to kill that right side Wizrobe. So not much intrigue here. Glan can't find anything. He could get trolled by maybe the mushroom. And then he's going to get his book and probably do a bunch of things before ever going to Swamp.
Yeah, and then that useless Swamp Hen on the that he saw in Ice Palace makes Swamp Palace even more of a deterrent right now.
Yeah, that hint tells him there are 2 items on left side mire, so Swamp, which normally has 6 items, now effectively has 4, so not as appealing.
Alright, and with that, Chex does have his last crystal. Unfortunately, a bird decided not to pick just a little bit offset, so sometimes it doesn't work.
So he's going to do some shenanigan to get to the Ganon drop rather than just...
He hopped off just in time to not get picked up.
So I don't know. There's some mirror trick to get to the Ganon drop, which I don't know. I'll be interested to see it here.
So he's going to start with the normal DMD. I think he's going to hop
Oh, I see.
on from the left over here.
Yeah, so he's just going to clip through the rail here. You can do a similar thing in the light world to get up to the castle entrances. In fact, it looks like almost the very same thing. Yep.
Alright, so Chex has gold sword and silver arrows. Ganon will go down ultra fast this time.
So I would think... yeah, I would think Glan will immediately know that it's in Swamp. That would be the...
Oh, I missed what that hint said.
I didn't see it either, but he's not acting... Well, he's leaving Mire with... I think he got both items, that's why he left. So he's not going for that book. Oh, but I think the fairy hint may have reminded him that the Pyramid Fairy exists.
Alright, so we do get a triple to finish off Ganon on Chex's side.
And Glan will demonstrate the mirror to Pyramid Fairy here. You set it right there, and then you go to the castle courtyard in the light world, and the mirror portal will be just right to get into the Pyramid Fairy.
Alright, Chex does finish up the seed with an official SRL time of 1 hour 26 and 51 seconds. We will try to get him in for an interview.
So you go into your portal there, and facing up is important. And that gets you straight into the crack in the pyramid.
Unfortunately, not the spot where that fire rod is.
Glan has not yet forfeit. They are talking in the IRC, though. I would think, though, he knows where the fire rod is based on Chex's finish time. And there we have Chex in the interview. Good game, Chex.
GG.
So, you went to Swamp this time.
Mm-hmm.
Turned out to be a good play.
Yeah. It felt good after getting Mire and Ganon's tower blocked by Hammer.
So, were you thinking more about getting those items or more about the way you avoided it last game?
I don't remember the last game. No. Yes, I do remember.
Let me remind you.
Yeah.
Let's-
Was it Fire Go mode in Swamp Palace?
Something
it was
like that.
Canis Samaria
Okay.
last game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, it felt like the right thing to do. I knew where 4 items were. It was pick the right pendant dungeon, I guess, with Mire unlocking like 5 items, which is kind of weird. I don't know.
Yeah, actually,
Because
that
of the book.
that hint we just saw was actually in Swamp, so you couldn't have really... Yeah, I was misleading chat there about what Glan knew, because Glan elected not to kill Vitreous for the green pendant, but he didn't have the hint. So he just now gets his fire rod.
Oh.
And just a few quick dungeons to check, and then he'll be finished up pretty soon.
So Glan did Misery Mire, but did he do Vitreous?
No.
No, he did not have that hint, so he bailed when he had 2 dungeon items.
Oh, okay.
So, early game, Glan had I don't know how it happened, but he gained a small amount of time over you. He went to pod earlier for the hammer. You did not teleport from Catfish, while he did. That made things different in a couple ways. He spent more time in pod because he did not have the lamp. So he had to use his fairies and spent a bit of extra time doing the Dark Turtles with no sword. And then ultimately got baited into a Thieves' Town full clear,
Right.
other than Blind, because Blind was known to have a dungeon item. And that was the difference, other than the pendant dungeon choice at the end.
Okay. That's interesting.
A couple other things went wrong or right. He went to Zora without 500 rupees, and he had the Boots version of the Water Walk in the Waterfall Ferry, and that one of those heart pieces gave him a heal, so he got baited back into the Zora plus second Waterfall chest after Ice Palace.
Do you think it was the same number of heart pieces that did it for both of us? Because I got that same result, except I had Pearl, of course.
Right, you were able to fix it. He was not, because he didn't have Pearl at that point. He went back much later, but I mean, you both got the heal. Alright, so Glan... Alright, so Glan has killed Mothula, and he has now forfeit. So we will see if we can get him also in the interview here to discuss the seed.
Oh, wow. Okay. Just saw the moth fight. Mine was paltry in comparison.
Yeah, because I think they gave you you had the left conveyor start on yours, and it sucks when it goes sideways when you're trying to get that double hit to start.
So we will be getting Glenn in here in a minute. Just a second. Alright, so your we now have game 3 coming up. It is scheduled for 9 p.m. tomorrow. No change to that, right?
Right. Yeah, looking forward to that.
Still waiting for Glenn. Okay. So let's see. I'm trying to think. Well, here he is. Let's get him in here.
GG's Glan.
GG.
GG.
Yeah, so we were going over it with Chex. One of the big differences was you got that hammer earlier, and that was bait for you to do a little extra Overworld and Thieves' Town.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you made the wrong pendant choice at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I do
I
have
mean-
one. Go ahead.
What would I have done without the hammer?
I avoided Thieves Town completely.
Because I couldn't have done GT to get the flippers and mirror. I couldn't have done ice without the hammer. It's like there's not much that I would do without the hammer.
Definitely. So, checks on your second trip to GT. Like you fluted over to getting ready to hop on over to Ice Palace. Then you decided you wanted to actually come back and do left side GT really fast.
Oh yeah, I think I meant to do Ganon's Tower before Ice Palace, but forgot, and just did them in the wrong order. So I fixed that.
Yeah.
I went to Ganon's Tower first, and then made my way to Ice Palace, and then from there, it really felt like Swamp was the answer, especially with this left side Swamp hint.
Yeah, so the sequence for Chex was to get his lamp first out of Ganon's Tower, then go to Pod with the hammer after he'd done the bit of Overworld in the Village of Outcasts. So he skipped Thieves, skipped Overworld, and had the lamp for Pod. And that was the big difference up until the Pendant Dungeon choice.
Yeah, that's fair.
So you guys have Game 3 tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you're going to do... I can't imagine you can do any practice for that.
I haven't so far.
Practice for the next tournament.
Practice hovering.
Oh yeah, checks. Yeah. So you failed that over in Spectral Rocket. I'm not sure that made any kind of difference, really.
Not really.
All right. So do either you have any other thoughts about the seed? What you did? Anything you regret?
Next time, no pendant swamp.
Yes, please.
We'll see what we can do.
Thank you.
All right. So good game to both players. I think we'll wrap it up here. You have anything to announce for Speed Gaming, JC?
We've got nothing major this week. I got word that we're planning to do some Z1R flags on Tuesday after the randomizer showcase or event on GDQ. They want to do some those flags during the weekly this week. But other than that, we've got nothing new coming up.
We have Game 3 tomorrow between these two at 9 p.m., same time as it was today. So tune in for that. That will decide the winner of this tournament.
Yep, and then I didn't get a catch who took home the bronze stuff.
Well, Frame is in chat. He was in those matches. Maybe he can tell us. Or Frame was in chat. In any event, I think we are done here. I think we will close out the stream.
And thanks to Dimensive for tracking for us.
Yeah, and good game again to both players.
Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks.